senior citizen here, and kindly he'll introduce himself for us because we really have a lot to talk about today. Kindly, sir, introduce yourself.
I am Tumaise Herbert. I come from Kitagwenda district of Uganda, of the Greater Toro Kingdom. I have been around for some time in this country. At least I have not seen one government, like most young people that we have today. I managed to see the government of Idi Amin. I saw the government of Obote II. I saw the government of Tito Okello Lutwa. I have also managed to see the 40 years of President Museveni.
Now, today we are focusing on Besigye. Kindly, I want to take us through that route that Besigye used to join the NRA, like Museveni in the bush. How was it? How did he join?
Besigye supported Uganda Patriotic Movement, which was a new party in the 1980 elections after the 1979 Liberation War. UPM appealed to young people that time because it was competing against DP, or Democratic Party of Paul Kawanga Semogerere, and the Uganda People's Congress of Dr. Apollo Milton Obote. Those parties had their challenges because they were rooted mainly in a religious they had their background in religious formations. DP was predominantly a party for Catholics, and many people criticized it, calling it Dini ya Papa as an acronym for DP, that it is the party of Christians who follow the Pope, in short, the Catholics. Then the UPC, people were saying it, calling it United Protestants of Canterbury. And to be very sincere, a good number of prominent politicians who were in UPC were Protestants, and many people who were in DP were Catholics. So when Museveni comes in 1980 after 1979 war, he starts Uganda Patriotic Movement, hoping that it would be a third force that would appeal to young people who would be looking at ideology rather than religious orientation as a basis for following a party. So basically, joins the UPM, Uganda Patriotic Movement, and he campaigned for UPM in Rukunjiri, and he was known as a good mobilizer. And shortly after elections, he goes to Mulago Hospital to work as a doctor. So one day there was scarcity of stethoscopes, and he wanted to go and buy some stethoscopes from Nairobi so that he could come and do some business here in town. So he books a flight on Uganda Airlines that was supposed to go to Nairobi at around 3 or 4 p.m. And then when he passes Nile Hotel, now Serena Hotel, he goes to a telephone booth to make a call. So when he is in a booth, someone walks up to him in civilian clothes and calls him to come out. This guy tells him, please hold on, I'm making a call, I will talk to you. But the man became impatient and basically said, are you trying to bring Aminism here? And before he knew it, he was on a barrel of a pistol, and he was taken to CPS, Central Police Station, Kampala. So when he goes to Central Police Station, Kampala, he finds there is a group of people arrested who were just sitting on the floor, on the dusty floor, because he was wearing a white suit. He was not willing to detain it because he knew it was just an issue of mistaken identity, something he thought they could sort it out quickly, and he catches his flight to Nairobi and buys his stethoscopes and comes and do business here. But the people he found in the cells asked him to sit down because that's how they also thought that was the manner in which they had been arrested. They thought maybe it was mistaken identity, but they ended up spending more time there. So he keeps standing, leaning against the window, peeping outside, hoping for the door to open any moment before the flight takes off. Then short later, the time for the flight reaches, and no, the door doesn't open. Then it gets dark in the evening, and then he comes down. He knows that there was no way out that day, so he sat down. So when he had sat down, there came soldiers at night, and they asked that who wants tea. He looked at the people who are his fellow detainees. Nobody was putting up a hand. He thought maybe these people are not tea drinkers. Maybe they like taking their beer or alcohol in the evening. So asking them whether they take tea in the evening could be a mockery. So with him, he thought he would be given tea. He put up his hand. At least did he know what was going to befall him. The soldiers descended on him in full force with electric wires. They beat him up to almost death. And it took the intervention of an elderly man who saw that the soldiers who were drunk would have killed Besigye. He fought with them and saved Besigye.
Who was this soldier who saved Besigye?
It was a fellow detainee. It was not a soldier. Okay. It was not a soldier. Okay. But he felt concerned that the soldiers had become wild and they could kill the man. Mm-hmm. So he offered to intervene and save him. So when they were still inside, there came, the door opened and they asked, who are the people who came from Mbarara? Then a group of 6 people stood up. Besigye also stood up and tried to follow them. But the soldiers who had asked for the people from Mbarara said, you are not part of them. Besigye said, no, I also come from Mbarara. But they said, you are not part of this group. Besigye was anxious to get out of prison as fast as possible. And later he discovered that when he had been released, that these people did not, or none of them survived. They disappeared. Up to today, they have never been seen. So after some time, like 3 or 4 days, he was called to Nair Hotel. And he was.
How long did he take in the detention, in the cells, in CPS?
I don't remember the exact number of days, but it could be 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
And then he was taken to Nail Mansions, and that's where he came. That's where he was pressed before a Uganda National Liberation Army senior officer who was accusing him of treason. By that time, Besigye had not known that Museveni had actually gone to the bush.
So this was during Obote's time? That
was during Obote's time.
Okay.
And Museveni had decided to go to the bush with about 41 soldiers, but 27 of whom had guns. So you have always heard the story of the 27 guns, and sometimes they reduce it to the story of 27 men who attacked Kawamba barracks. But they were not actually 27 men. They were 27 armed men with 14 unarmed men who decided to attack Kawamba barracks.
Okay, back to Besigye now.
So when they attacked Kawamba barracks, Obote's intelligence started swooping on those people they thought had campaigned for UPM. They looked at every UPM politician as a rebel. And that's how they ended up arresting Besigye at Nair Hotel.
Okay.
So when he was at Nair Hotel, he was actually told that he's a rebel, At that time, there came a Tanzanian colonel whom he had treated at Mulago Hospital. He asked him, "Doctor, what are you doing here?" Then doctor said, "I don't know what, I don't understand the charges they are pressing against me, because with me I'm in the hospital, they are charging me, they're asking me about rebellion." Then the colonel said, "This doctor treated me in Mulago. He's not into rebellion. He's actually
Good man.
a good man." Then the UNRA soldier said, "Since this brother of ours has said that you are a good man, you can now go."
They released him just like that.
They released him like that.
So where did he go after being released?
After being released, he went back to his residence. He was staying on Uganda Road, on Uganda Road flats, the government flats of Uganda Road. So when he reaches Uganda Road flats, he goes into his house, he bathes, and because his body was full of wounds, it took him like 4 hours to completely bathe his body. And when he had finished bathing, he called one of his friends. And after calling one of his friends, the friend tells him that now that you have been released on board and you are supposed to report back, do you expect these people to release you, or they will end up killing you? Because the Tanzanian colonel will not be there
to defend you again.
So what he ends up saying, what they end up deciding was to run away, and this time he runs to Kenya.
Okay.
His colleague had a car. He asked him to pack a few things in his rucksack, and then they hit the road going to Kenya. They were doing about his time.
With their family, or he left the family in Uganda?
By that time, he
didn't have a family.
He didn't have a family.
Okay, they hit the road to Kenya.
They hit the road to Kenya. Then he goes. During that time, there were roadblocks at designated points along the main highways.
So you could just know there's a roadblock in such and such a place, and you dodge it.
You dodge it. That's how they did. They did it. They dodged the roadblocks, and they eventually reached
Kenya.
They eventually crossed the border.
Okay.
After crossing the border, Besigye actually connected to Nairobi and went to Aga Khan Hospital. So while in Aga Khan Hospital, he meets Matthew Ruchikaire. Matthew Ruchikaire convinces him to come back and fight because they needed his services as a doctor. So when he was going, he says when he was going to Kenya, he met Tinyefuza and Jim Muhwezi, coming from Kenya, going to join to fight the what?
To join
the army. So I was shortly after being convinced, he left Aga Khan Hospital, and during that time when he was in Aga Khan Hospital, he had gotten a girlfriend, and he wrote him a message that he had actually gone.
Besigye wrote the girlfriend a letter.
A letter saying that
he is coming back to Uganda.
He's coming back to Uganda.
Okay.
To join the struggle.
Okay.
But then the girlfriend could not wait until the war was over. So afterwards, she got married somewhere else.
That is now, the girlfriend not winning Byanyima.
Not winning Byanyima.
Okay. Proceed.
So Besigye is convinced by Ruchikaire. Then Ruchikaire makes an arrangement for Besigye to come. He reaches Kisumu. Then he gets into a boat which lands him in Entebbe at Kituguru landing site. There was a house belonging to civilians which was used as a rendezvous for NRA, for people who were actually coming from Kenya into Uganda and also going to coming from Uganda to Kenya. So when he reaches there and finds the person who was supposed to receive him was not there. But he was not aware that the house was being used as a rendezvous. So he waits and becomes a bit suspicious. Then he tries his luck and says, let me ask these people if they have seen anybody around. But he was worried that he may ask the people, the enemy. So when they asked them, they said, no, there's no problem. We are collaborators. The guy has not yet come, but we know he's going to come to pick you. So they gave him sanctuary until the late Colonel Serwanga came and then took him to the bush. He took him to Buero, and when he had actually left Nairobi, he did not pack so many personal effects because he expected these people to be living like bushmen. So he didn't expect organized life in the bush. He expected moving like
harsh life in the bush.
He expected a harsh life, wandering from place to place.
Okay.
But he found these people had established camps where when they were not fighting, where they led a normal life. And he had carried a book of George Orwell's a copy of George Orwell's book, Animal Farm.
Now, life in the bush. How was life in that bush?
Now, what he says, according to Daniel Karnaki's book, His Origin in the Second Revolution, when he comes to the bush, he finds people were living almost normal lives. They had built a camp where they had mud and water huts, and they were
very comfortable.
They were comfortable, apart from time when they would go fighting on the front.
Food?
Food, they were relying on the masses to feed them. People would give them cassava, give them matoke, they would give them sweet potatoes.
Willingly?
Willingly, they would not force them.
Okay.
They would actually give them as well chicken, goats, and sometimes cows.
That was good.
So during that time, what he experienced was that the commanders had double standards. Whereas they were supposed to live as equal comrades, sharing everything, whether in plenty or scarcity. When it came to commanders, in case there wasn't enough food, the commanders were supposed to eat first, so that whatever remains goes to the other low-rank soldiers.
Yeah, that was bad.
And the argument was that a starving commander can make wrong decisions which can cost the whole army or the whole battalion their lives. So whenever they would bring chicken, the commanders were the ones to eat chicken. So there was a story of two Magaras. One Magara was a commander and another Magara was a low-rank soldier. So Magara commander was eating chicken. And the one who was a low-rank soldier who could not taste the chicken because the policy was chicken is for commanders.
Okay.
So because of that, the guerrillas would joke about it in their free time, that Oyo Magara atali ankoko, that this is the Magara who doesn't eat chicken. And when Besigye came from Nairobi, he found the Magara being referred to Magara atali ankoko.
Okay.
And he thought that was the guy had maybe how do you call them? An allergy. He was allergic to chicken.
Okay.
But after the struggle, he was surprised when he saw Magara eating chicken. And when he asked him, he said the man told him, no, Kano, by that time, Besigye had become Kano. Kano, I also enjoy my chicken. The only problem is that by that time I was not commander. That's why he did not eat chicken. That's why people were saying, Magara Atari and Popo.
This habit did it not bring a difference, like create some tension between the junior soldiers and the high ranked ones?
I think there was a way they played around it. They could have psychologically drummed it to the rank soldiers to accept it.
Okay.
But of course, they must have been grumbling underground.
Another question. The war, okay. They have now finished the Bush war. They are now in government. What brought the difference?
Now, before you go there,
Okay.
When they basically realized there was that inequality, they were preaching equality before of comrades in the struggle. But when it came to dishing out favors, the commanders favored themselves at the expense of the lower rank soldiers.
Imagine.
Now, basically, pulled out the book, Animal Farm, and he read the verse where the animals had actually, the animals initially had written the laws that all animals are equal, and then later they revised the pigs revised the law. When they had become corrupt, and they said all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Wow.
The moment he read it out, they thought he was trying to create a mutiny in the army. They almost court-martialed him. He survived by a whisker.
Wow. So now they are now in government. The Bush war is done. What brought this animosity between him and the president?
Around 1999, let me say before 1999, when they came into government, Besigye first served as the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs and was a National Political Commissar. He was in charge of political sensitization of the whole country, and for that reason, he was the one drumming the ideological doctrine of NRM to drumming he was the one drumming the ideological doctrine of NRM into the masses. So he realized over time the government became corrupt. When it became corrupt, they lost track of what they were doing. And when they started looking at the 10-point program, he saw what they had fought for was not what they were practicing. So in 1999, he wrote a 14-page document where he critiqued the NRM and showed that it had lost track. And among other things, he accused the national resistance movement as being dictatorial, sycophantic, dishonest, and corrupt. And after reading that document, he was threatened with court-martial. And
He wrote this document when he was still a soldier?
when he was still a serving soldier.
Okay.
So when he because the serving soldier was not supposed to discuss politics.
True.
Now, because now this is the double standards with Museveni's government. When a serving soldier campaigns in favor of Museveni, there are no repercussions. But when he criticizes the system, then they say you are not supposed to discuss politics as a soldier. So basically, was threatened with court-martial, and the court-martial is a court which is supposed to discipline soldiers, which is charged with the discipline of soldiers in the course of their duties, and it is appointed by the commander-in-chief, and because of the hierarchy of the army, the court-martial cannot deliver justice to its victims, in the sense that it will always seek to please the appointing authority who happens to be the commanding chief. So if the commanding chief is interested in a certain line of judgment, that's what the court martial will give him. So when people heard that Besigye was going to be court martial, they realized that he was going to not, or he was not going to get justice. They knew that he was not going to get justice in court martial. So what the Development Association did was to organize a reconciliation meeting between Dr. Kizza Besigye and President Museveni. So in that reconciliation meeting, Besigye regretted for having caused animosity in the NRM, and Museveni forgave him, and Besigye asked to be released from the army. So when he was released from the army, then the following, I think after like 2 days, he declared his candidacy against President Museveni.
But before you're released from the army, you're given a release letter, right?
Yes.
Was he given that?
Yeah. Museveni was reluctant to release Besigye, but because of the political pressure of the elders from Nigeria under the Development Association, where Museveni was always getting over 90% support in political support in campaigns, in election, where he had quite over 90% support in the 1996 elections. He was afraid if he mishandled Besigye, he would lose support in Rukungiri.
Okay.
So to please them, he agreed that he had forgiven Besigye, and Besigye said that he wanted to get away from the army. So Besigye, Museveni reluctantly gave a word of mouth that he was releasing Besigye, but he also wrote a letter releasing Besigye from the army. And then the letter was supposed to be picked from Bombo military headquarters.
Besigye was supposed to pick it from Bombo.
Now, before Besigye could pick the letter from military headquarters, there was a message that came from the headquarters saying that when Besigye arrives at Bombo military headquarters, he should be arrested.
Hey.
Now, the signaller who received the message decided to sit on it until Besigye picks the letter. So Besigye, the first thing he did in the morning of the day he was supposed to pick the letter was to go to Bombo. And I think by around 8 a.m. he was there. So reaching there, he found a screaming headline over something, over the criticism he had made at the burial of the late Sekweyama of DP. And the commanding officer asked him that, what's this I am seeing? Besigye joked it off, saying those are journalists always blowing things out of proportion. Then he sent and repeated his letter, and then after he had left, when the signal realized that Besigye had left, he released the information that when Besigye comes,
He should be arrested.
And it was too late.
That was good. Now let's talk about Besigye now, the politician. He's now left the army. He's not a free man, a civilian. Talk about that now.
Now, when Besigye leaves the army, he declares presidency. And when he declared the presidency towards the end of October 2000. Then on November 2nd, President Museveni wrote a letter in the Monitor attacking Besigye for going about his presidential ambitions in an indisciplined, clandestine, and disruptive way. He accused him of dividing the movement vote because he said NRM had no choice but to declare Besigye as the sole candidate of the movement, or field other candidates who will end up dividing the movement vote in a political field where there were already two multi-party candidates. And Mr. Museveni had always criticized the Monitor of being an evil paper because of its constructive analytical criticisms of the regime. But because he knew if his views were to be read and appreciated, he needed to write in a paper that was read by independent-minded people. So that's why he chose the Monitor. And in that letter, he promised to detoxicate Besigye's toxins by writing bi-weekly missives. And Dr. Besigye wrote back on November 3rd as saying that Museveni, who was accusing him of going about his presidential ambitions without consulting any organ of the government of the movement, was being dishonest, because he, Museveni, in 1996, when he wanted to stand against Paul Kawanga Ssemugerere under the movement system, did not actually consult any organ of the movement. He actually picked a few individuals who were his friends, and they wrote a manifesto, and he launched a campaign. And when Besigye decides to do the same thing, Museveni says that Besigye is actually not consulting the organs of the movement. And Mr. Museveni had attacked Besigye for collaborating with multi-partists. But Mr. Besigye hit back saying Mr. Museveni was well known in being in touch with Cecilia Ogwal of UPC, and he was doing everything possible to court her and bring her to the movement. But when Besigye talks to Kawanga Ssemugerere and other multi-partists, it becomes a problem. So he actually exposed Museveni as being a selfish and a dishonest politician.
How did it go when Museveni read about that?
The 2001 elections were actually violent because Museveni was not willing to take it lying down. He had not received any formidable challenge to his political ambitions, like when Dr. Besigye appeared on this political scene. Kakoza Mutare, Major Roland Kakoza Mutare, who was a presidential advisor on political affairs, formed a militia called Karangara Action Plan, whose only job was to beat and torture and kidnap supporters of Kizza Besigye during the campaign. And a number of people were beaten, others were tortured, others were kidnapped. They have never been seen up to today. So after declaring his candidacy, Besigye mobilized a team and he wrote a manifesto, and then he was nominated at Kololo. After his nomination, he hit the campaign trail and he moved around the whole country. Now, one of the two things that actually shook Museveni so much about the 2001 elections was Besigye's promise to scrap off graduated tax. Besigye's argument was graduated tax was a colonial tax, repressive, and it was repressive and dehumanizing because of the way they use it. Because of the methods the chiefs use it to arrest the defaulters. And they said even the taxes that were being collected, the contribution of the graduated tax to the total tax revenue was so insignificant that what was being collected in importation of cars, the tax on cars, was catering around 200 times what was being collected from graduated tax. So his argument was graduated tax was dehumanizing the Ugandans and it was not making any significant contribution to the treasury. And when he promised to scrap it, Mr. Museveni responded immediately by reducing the starting point of graduated tax from 18,000 shillings to 3,000 shillings. And people who were assessing the situation, they said the printing of a graduated tax ticket did cost something like 1,500. So they were saying if the ticket costs 1,500 to print, and then you are collecting 3,000. So what is the purpose of collecting the net income, the net tax of 1,500? What will it do? Then it took some time. Let it hang there for some time, and after 5 years, he scrapped the graduated tax. Then another one, which attracted many young people to Dr. Besigye, was the reinstatement of government sponsorship at diploma level tertiary institutions. At that time, Mr. Museveni had scrapped off government sponsorship at tertiary institutions that were offering diploma levels, that were offering diplomas. Students were paying millions of money to do diplomas, and Museveni was planning even to scrap off 2,000 government-sponsored students from university. He was saying that Uganda had phenomenally developed, that people were in a position to pay for tuition of their children at university and other tertiary institutions. But the reality on the ground was showing that 35% of the Ugandans, which were making about 8.7 million, were not earning $1, which was 980 shillings a day. So with 8.3 million Ugandans not earning $1 or not earning 980 shillings a day, you say such person could afford to pay millions of money in tuition at diploma level and at university level. So that's what inspired some of us, me inclusive, to start campaigning for Dr. Besigye at that time. By that time, I had dropped out of school for 8 years. Not because I didn't have points to take me to college or to university. I had 2 principal passes which would take me to university or college and do a diploma, but I couldn't afford the fees. So I campaigned for Besigye, and I also wrote my own letter on 3rd November called Why Panic, Mr. President?
Why panic, Mr. President?
Yes.
That was the letter you wrote.
That's what I wrote.
Was it published?
It was not published.
Why?
For the reason that I did not have a postal address.
Okay.
So I circulated it physically because during that time in the year 2000, there were many political workshops, seminars, symposia, and conferences taking place in Kampala.
You were a journalist by then, I guess.
I wasn't a journalist as yet, but I had secured a place to do journalism at Uganda Management Institute.
Okay.
But I couldn't still go there because I didn't have money to pay for the 9-month diploma. So I wrote the letter, and in what I wrote, He quoted the constitution that every Ugandan has the right to aspire for any office, any political office, including the president's office, under the constitution. Then Mr. Museveni's attack on Besigye's aspirations to become president were baseless, selfish, and expressing his hunger for power. I said they had gone to the bushes of Luwero to fight for a shining trophy called democracy. And democracy meant that society sat down and individuals offered themselves with their programs of what they want to do for the electorate, and the electorate, of having scrutinized their programs or manifestos, they choose the best without fear or intimidation. So he was saying that now, having gone to fight for democracy in Luwero, and now that it's tangibly here, why are you afraid to exercise democracy, which you fought for and you are willing to die for? And he was like, he quoted Anonymous that I'm not interested in the storms you encountered, but did you bring the ship? So he was also saying he was not interested in the battles you fought in Luwero Triangle, but did you bring democracy? And remember, I quoted Ondoga Oryamaza, who wrote the first book about the NRA struggle. Ondoga Oryamaza, Major, rest in peace. He had said that they had not gone to the bush to fight for whatever, for ideas, for things that are in one's mind. They had gone to the bush to fight for material benefits, to live better and to guard the future of their children. And then when they were in the bush, they had come across an illiterate Muganda, whom they asked why he had joined the struggle. And the guy told him that they had joined the struggle because he wanted to fight for democracy. And when they asked him, what does democracy mean? He said in Luganda that, but I can paraphrase because I can't speak the Luganda. The man said that democracy means freedom, that he's fighting to have the freedom, so that when he has his money and he feels like he wants to drink, he should go to the bar and drink. And if he gets drunk and he's going home and he gets the misfortune of falling down and he collapses, he should be allowed to sleep, and he should be allowed to sleep and wake up and nobody should disturb him as long as he sleeps. And when he wakes up, he should find his money in his pocket, and no one should have beaten him.
That's freedom to him.
That's what freedom to him meant, and that's what democracy meant.
Wow. Now, I want us to talk about the current situation of Besigye now. Let's now jump to that situation now. What Besigye is going through. The arrests, the walk to work, and everything. What can you, at least you have something to say about that?
Before we go there, after the 2001 elections, Besigye was put under house arrest. He first went to court, and the justices of the High Court ruled that the election had been rigged. And instead of cancelling the election, they just played around the substantiality, that the election, the rigging was not substantial enough to overturn
overturn the results.
To overturn the results. And after election after the court case, Besigye was detained, was put under house arrest. So he was kept under his house for he was kept under his house. He was kept in his house under arrest for a long period of time. Then that time he was staying in Ozira. He organized and got his house was surrounded by a woven wire fence, and behind the woven wire fence there was a leaf fence. So he got a wire cutter and cut a hole in a wire fence. And then one day when the soldiers were guarding from the front, he passed through the back door at night at around 8 p.m., putting on a cape and having packed a few clothes into his rucksack, and he walked through the hole he had cut and emerged on the other side of the road. And he was afraid that many people would recognize him, but by good luck they did not recognize him.
It was at night?
It was at night. He left at around 8 p.m.
Okay.
And he left without without the soldiers knowing, and without even the wife knowing. Okay. And he left a note behind saying, when you come across this note, I will be across the boundary. And then Winnie Byanyima was later to confess that she felt disappointed, and she said, I thought we were in this together, now you have left me in this alone. And during the 2001 elections, the elections in Mbarara were so violent, where Winnie Byanyima was the MP of Mbarara municipality, because one of the supporters of
by then, when Besigye left, the wife was the MP?
Was the MP of Mbarara municipality.
Okay.
And Winnie Byanyima won the election, but one of her supporters was killed.
Hey.
And when she saw that elections had become so violent to the extent of people losing their lives because of her going to parliament, she decided not even to serve in that parliament of 2001, 2005. That's when she took up a job with Oxfam.
So now Besigye is in South Africa.
Now Besigye goes to South Africa, escapes and goes to South Africa. So when he's in South Africa, Andrew Mwenda of the Monitor at that time, who was also working as a presenter on KFM, realized that Besigye was very popular in Uganda. So he organized a talk show. He would organize talk shows, the hot seat. By that time, it was Andrew Mwenda Live at 7 p.m. And he would interview Besigye directly from South Africa. And in the studio, he would be having Kano Mayombo bringing accusation against Besigye, and there would be crossfire over the waves, and many people would be sitting at Crown House, listening to the debate on large loudspeakers, which they would put out. So basically, in South Africa, where he was at one particular point, he receives information that from South African intelligence that they had sent operatives to kidnap or kill him from South Africa. So what he does, he decides to change his residence from an all blacks residence to an all whites residence, so that he could be able to identify
any black
man coming, following him. And that was the time when Anselm was about 3 years, his first born with Winnie Byanyima. was about 3 years, and Winnie Ganyima had actually taken the boy to South Africa.
But before that, Besigye has how many children?
I just don't know the number.
But they're there.
He has a number of children.
Ah, that's okay. Proceed.
So, Winnie Ganyima had actually taken Anselm to bond with his father. So, Besigye would go to the supermarket to buy groceries and still walk with the groceries in one hand, and another hand holding his 3-year-old son, walking some distance from the supermarket up to his residence. So it was some uphill task. So during that time when he was in South Africa, he was giving interviews. He said that he had said to go to South Africa, which was not far away from home, where he could get information from Uganda and still be able to communicate with Ugandans instead of going to Europe or United States, which would be very far. So when in South Africa, the government organized and sent David Prukor, but before David Prukor was the former director of external security organization, who first criticized the government, yet create an impression that he was anti-government. So they sent him to South Africa to meet Besigye. When he reaches there, Besigye, having been a person who works with the army, who knows how intelligence works, snubbed Prukor and did not give him attention. So fast forward and up to 2004, reform agenda, which was a pressure group under which Besigye stood, merges with Parliamentary Advocacy Forum, which was a group of progressive parliamentarians, and National Freedom Party of Chapa Karahanga to form FDC. So when they form FDC, they sent a delegation to South Africa, which went and got the inputs of Dr. Chiza Besigye into the political platform and the constitution of FDC. So when was that? And then when South Africa Besigye declares that he's going to come and stand for presidency in 2005, and then the government said that Besigye had cases to answer. That one, that
now walk to work campaign. How did it begin?
walk to work campaign began when there was the food price. Walk to work campaign began when there was a sharp rise in price for food items, and people found it hard to survive, and for that reason, Besigye and other politicians decided to abandon their vehicles and join the masses who were walking to work because they didn't have enough money to cater for their transport bills and meet their food costs.
Okay.
So when he started walking, every time Besigye would get on the road, before he moves 80 meters, he would be having 4,000 people, and police would come in to disperse them. And the people he was moving with were peaceful. The confusion would come in when police would start firing tear gas. So Besigye would walk to work, and other MPs would actually join him and other politicians. And Kampala was actually, I can say, like on fire, because people were demonstrating against high food prices, and police was stressed. And then to reduce the influence of Besigye, they had to put him under house arrest, and they led to senior police officer Omara was put in charge of
keeping Besigye
at home. And one time, Omara was at Besigye's place. He receives a call from his bosses that where is Besigye? He said, "Oh, Besigye is under control. I have him under state security here." Least did he know that Besigye had escaped from him and had gone up to Seka Market. They said, "But he's in Seka Market. Are you aware?" Then he said, "Where did he pass?"
And then he's asking the bosses.
Yes, he was asking the bosses. He said he did not pass here because I have been.
So then, okay, let's proceed.
So the walk-to-work protests went on for some time, and the police was overwhelmed. They didn't have enough policemen. They had to withdraw policemen from up country to come and boost up security in Kampala. And for some time. Then in 2006,
Walk to Work was in 2011.
You see, there were
So now let's talk about Besigye now in Luzira currently.
Besigye was, I think, has been detained for more than 6 months. This is
Why was he picked from Kenya?
this is August.
This is August.
This is now 9. This is almost 9 months. He was picked from Kenya when he had gone to attend Martha Karua's launch of Against the Tide book, and he was in a hotel where he had booked in. Someone calls him that he wants to see him, and basically being a public man, he goes to meet the guy, and when he reaches there, the guy starts telling him he wants to give him guns to fight Museveni and so on, and Museveni, and was basically telling him he's not interested in guns. Then he's rounded up by people who are not known, whom they have never disclosed, and he's driven express passing the Kenyan-Uganda border immigration point without checking into the immigration office, and is kept held incommunicado for some time. So it took the intervention of his wife, who appealed, who made noise in the international media that he knows his husband has been kidnapped from Kenya, and it is the government of Uganda which has him. That after some time, government released acknowledged that it had him under military detention, and they decided to take him to the military court martial. And basically, after being taken to court martial, was insisting that the civilian is not supposed to be it's not supposed to be
Tried in the
military tribunal, because the military tribunal is supposed to be trying civilian military officers, serving military officers, and it is not a serving military officer. And they continue resisting. The government continued resisting, taking him to the military court, and until his lawyers petitioned High Court, and because government had specific interest in the case, the petition of Michael Kabasburuka against Attorney General and the government about trying civilians in military court, which had been shelved for a long time, was given a hearing. And then the judges pronounced themselves and said it is wrong to try civilians in military courts. The military courts, they are not courts per se, they are disciplinary bodies for serving officers that also that even military officers who commit offenses are supposed to be tried in civilian courts, and then the courts having pronounced themselves on the illegality of trying civilians in military courts, they ordered the transfer of files from the files of civilians who have been tried in military court to the civilian courts. And then when the case was transferred, Besigye has never been given bail.
Why?
Because I have forgotten she said that you have fulfilled all conditions to grant you bail, but I'm sorry, I cannot do it.
That is the judge who said that.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the judge.
It's okay. Now, maybe your last word about this whole topic. Maybe.
The truth is that when NRM came to power in 1986, it came with a 10-point program, which was a very good document, promising a lot of hope to Ugandans and freedoms. Along the way, government has lost track. It has made a complete U-turn and is glorifying the same crimes that took them to the bush. Because when you look at kidnapping people after they have been, because they have expressed political opinion or because they belong to a different political party, and after arresting them, after kidnapping them, you do not bring them to court. And when you bring them to court, you find they have been tortured. Some have their fingers mutilated. That is actually a violation of rights which would not be expected to be committed by the National Resistance Movement, which wrote the 10-point program. And now, Ugandans deserve better. Ugandans need to stand up and demand and ask the hard questions. Because, like Kwame Nkrumah says, democracy is not served on a silver platter. It takes away toil. It requires toil, and I have forgotten that quotation. Young people, the future belongs to you, but you are being told you are the leaders of tomorrow. But when you look at what is happening today in this country, the decisions are being made by people who are not going to live the next 20 years. Do not be contented with being told to wait until tomorrow. You are leaders of today and tomorrow. Stand up, demand what rightly belongs to you, and stand to be counted. We are living in in information age where you cannot be denied information. Read information is power. After you have armed yourself with information, go ahead and demand what really belongs to you, because freedom is not served on a silver platter.